What would you do if your deepest feelings became just a computer program? The prospect of a megacity in the future. Gigantic holographic screens displaying idealized lives, families loving each other, moments of joy seemingly captured in perfect slow motion. Passers-by hurry along the sidewalks, their faces immersed in glowing screens of neural interfaces that connect them to a world where every emotion is just a click away. The feeling of happiness, love, even sadness, all merely a button on a screen. But behind this serene picture lurks anxiety. How many of these moments are real? How many are just reflections in a sparkling ocean of data? Lonely souls clutching their devices hoping for something seek genuine connections, but instead find only distorted images of their desires. Virtual romantic dinners, perfect grades at university, all achievements. Everything seems too good to be true. Every day something strange happens. Couples diving into simulations begin to forget what real interaction looks like. They tag their most sincere feelings, filling voids with shiny pictures and deceptive memories. And now, they stand on the edge of an abyss, unaware that with each simulation, with each attempt to avoid pain, they drift further away from themselves. Some experiment, occasionally turning off their devices to feel, to listen to silence. But where emotions should be, there is only emptiness, and the heroes become afraid. This is a world of comfort and fear, and they begin to wonder how to regain lost authenticity. What to do if waiting, tied to the taut threads of technology linking them to dream worlds, is once again called suffering. A world where connection turns into an algorithm and feelings into code becomes increasingly unbearable. They start to understand that ideal worlds have consumed their real lives. Sooner or later, they will confront the question that already lives in them. What does it mean to be alive? Are you ready to learn the truth about your relationships? In this world of technology where virtual dating has become commonplace, we easily lose the boundary between reality and illusion. Imagine, you are standing in line at a virtual gate where endless possibilities of creating the perfect partner unfold before you. Do you remember how you envisioned your other half in childhood? Here you can choose images, adding perfect traits while hiding flaws. Why is reality so unbearable when it can be replaced with perfect simulation? But think for a moment, what happens when the mask comes off? A couple created on a virtual platform may seem perfect, but once the screen goes dark, who will be left beside you? It's a contradiction. The ability to create ideal relationships comes with the risk of their destruction. How many of you have already tried engaging in emotional simulations to gain the experience you lack in life? The model of the perfect partner with a screen in hand can impose illusions that easily shatter at the first real interaction. It seems like just a game, but what about emotions? How will you cope with disappointment when reality doesn't match your script? The truth is that in the pursuit of perfection, we forget what it truly means to love, accepting a person with their flaws and strengths. We deceive ourselves by creating a world that can never replace genuine feelings. Are you ready to keep playing this game? Or is it time to stop and confront the real? What if I told you that perfect relationships can only exist in virtual reality? Mark sits at a table in the corner of the cafe, his gaze lost. He mechanically strokes the coffee cup, as if that's the only thing that makes sense right now. Moments from their life together surface in his mind. Laughter, cozy evenings, sincere conversations. But all of this now seems so distant back in the world they created together. Sarah across from him looks out the window as if waiting for her life to turn its back on this bitter moment. Her thoughts beat against the walls of her consciousness, where every memory of Mark brings both warmth and pain. She forgets how to laugh, realizing that their virtual world, where everything was perfect, will never disappear. But she lacks the strength to return to where they were happy. "Do you remember how we created that world where everything worked for us?" Mark quietly asks, his voice seeming to hit the glass wall between them. Sarah flinches, realizing he is addressing her. It's hard for her to articulate words because the whole story they wrote together now seems so absurd. "Yes, I remember," she replies, a distant spark of longing igniting within her. "But we forgot what it was like in reality." At that moment, they both understand that they sit close to each other, yet each is in their own world, in their own sufferings. These feelings gnaw at them from the inside, and they don't know how to become one whole again. It's as if they are playing roles, unable to find a common plot. Their perfect relationships seem to exist in a parallel universe, while here, on this earth, they felt excluded from the game, lost in unsolvable questions, forgotten and left out of sight. "Maybe we should try again." He says it, but his voice trembles. Even he doesn't believe it. Sarah closes her eyes as if trying to open the space between them, but instead feels only emptiness. This feeling weighs heavily on both of them, but each hides their feelings from the other. Mark reaches out to her noticeably, but there's uncertainty in his movement. They both know that this magic, this perfect virtual world, cannot replace real emotions, real meetings, and true love that slipped away so easily. And this conversation is like the last thread connecting them, a thread they both understand they could sever at any moment. And it's this uncertainty that eats them from within, like an invisible enemy they both know, but cannot defeat. What if you could experience moments that never actually happened? Mark and Sarah sit together, disconnected from reality, immersed in a vibrant stream of visual memories. They activate neural interfaces, and their eyes shine with anticipation. Suddenly, they find themselves on the shore of the ocean, where the sunset fills the sky with fiery hues. She laughs, he embraces her, and it seems like it has always been this way. Excitement overwhelms them as they relive these moments that never occurred in their real relationship. Light streams through their fingers, framing their faces, and each moment becomes more real. They dance under the starry sky like in a movie, barely touching their lips together. But it is just an illusion created by technology. Each image fills their hearts with hope and longing simultaneously. In their virtual world, there is no fear, no doubt. Here they are the perfect couple, and every moment is a dream of love they were missing. But suddenly, the realization reflects in their eyes. What are the consequences of this escape from reality? What happens to their true feelings when virtual experiences overshadow the truth? Every memory they create undermines the foundation of their relationship. It is beautiful, but painful. The virtual moments become too tender, too perfect, and the inevitable question arises: are they losing themselves in this magical deceit? Mark and Sarah freeze, realizing that by participating in this simulation they may lose the real connection with each other. Their eyes meet, but already in them reads a shadow of uncertainty. The romance of the virtual simulation has replaced genuine feelings, and perhaps this has become the biggest rift between them. What if I told you that technology has become the cause of our deepest misunderstandings? The room was silent, interrupted only by the flickering of screens. Virtual worlds, filled with limitless possibilities, suddenly turned against the heroes. They were the masters of their own lives in the simulation, but when they turned off the devices, they faced real feelings that they could not understand. "Why don't you understand what I feel?" one of them cried, tears running down his cheeks. "I only understand what you show in the game," the other replied, his voice trembling with suppressed anger. Like two ships, they glided past each other, not seeing the real waves of emotion raging between them. "In the game, I feel free, but here I feel confused," one shouted, his words stinging like cold rain. "And all these emotions that I have outside the simulation? Are they not real?" he asked, a question that seemed absurd. As if the magic of the deceptive world had shattered, they found themselves face to face with emptiness. "Have you never noticed how I laugh when we play? It doesn't mean I'm actually happy," came the response, a hint of despair echoing in his voice. Tears like rain washed away the unnecessary shell. The truth they sought seemed further away. "I just want you to feel those emotions here and now," he yelled, an outrage reflected in his eyes. The inner conflict grew like a storm. They could forgive themselves, but could not forgive each other. Their mutual misunderstandings became sharp needles, piercing every attempt to explain, to understand. "Virtuality gives me confidence, but here I'm just a stranger." A broken voice finally cast them ashore on the impossible choice, to maintain illusions or to confront the truth. The real emotions they were losing sank into the shadows where technology became the reason for an invisible war. The clash of two worlds, their hearts filled with pain and misunderstanding. Is virtual life really better than real life? What if I told you that true connections run much deeper than you think? The atmosphere in the bar buzzes, people laugh, drink, and socialize, but amidst this silent chaos he appears. Alex. Easygoing, casual, with a mysterious smile. "You know, many of us spend time on fleeting encounters, building relationships on illusions," he begins, looking at our heroes. "But what if I told you the biggest secret to a real connection lies in honesty?" He leans in closer and his voice drops as if they are alone in this noisy world. "I've been in relationships that seemed perfect, but the moment I decided to be sincere, everything changed. We started sharing our fears, dreams, and even failures. It was scary, but that's where we found each other." Our heroes exchanged glances, their faces filled with confusion. "I looked at my life and realized how many beautiful moments I missed just because I was afraid to be vulnerable," he continues with a hint of irony. "A couple of masks in front, but nothing real behind them." Alex raises a cocktail glass. "So here's my offer to you. If you want real connections, start with the truth. Some may say it's risky, but allow yourself to be vulnerable. When you open your heart, you'll be surprised how many people respond in kind." He pauses and scans the space around him. In that moment, it feels as though the entire bar is frozen. Are you ready to step away from familiar patterns and look deep within? Perhaps it's time to think about what you truly want. Now his eyes sparkle as if shining with secret knowledge. Just think about it. How many times have you actually said what you feel instead of just keeping the conversation going? True connections begin with the question, who am I really? And with those words, the atmosphere shifts. Smiles fade, new thoughts begin to form in their minds. First, doubt, then realization. Yes, maybe he is right. Tension builds in the air and a question ripens. What if we turn everything upside down? What if I told you that you can be next to someone but still feel lonely? Mark and Sarah are sitting on the couch surrounded by old photographs. Each frame reminds them of moments of happiness, smiles, embraces, trips together. But as they look at these moments, there is a heaviness in their hearts. Mark traces his finger along the edge of the frame and sighs. "Sarah, do you think this is really us? The people in these pictures?" Sarah's gaze lingers on a photo where they are happy, and she slowly nods. "Sometimes it feels like just an image. We have slipped into routine, forgotten what it means to be truly close." He turns away and gazes thoughtfully out the window. where life outside is bustling while inside everything feels so quiet and cold. When was the last time we just talked? Without work? Without chores? Sarah replies, "It's hard to even remember. We started spending time together, but every moment has lost its meaning. Everything became mechanical." She picks up another photo, the moment when they first started dating. "Look at us. We were full of dreams and emotions. And now, each of them dives into their own thoughts. They look at their shared memories and feel emptiness." Closeness isn't just physical presence. It's the ability to share our fears and dreams, Mark says, his voice filled with emotion. Sarah hugs him and whispers, "We can get it back, right? Ask ourselves the right questions. Understand what connects us now. What if in reality all these years they have been tied together not only by love but also by the worry of not letting each other down? How can they understand what true connection is if they themselves do not know the answer? What if I tell you that your happiest memories may turn out to be just illusions?" Mark sat alone in a dark room, the moonlight filtering through the curtains, casting cold shadows. He held a photograph in his hands where everyone was smiling. Friends, family, joyful faces full of happiness. But there was a pang in his chest and tears involuntarily streamed down his cheeks. He remembered every "I love you," every hug, every moment when he genuinely laughed. But now it felt empty. His thoughts were filled with conflicting feelings. How many times had he tried to conform to others' expectations, hoping that in those moments he would find his true joy? But behind that false joy lay only emptiness. He recalled how he hid his true feelings behind a mask of fun, how he created perfect images for someone. What if all these moments are just carefully staged performances that ended without applause? A sound echoed through the room like a bottle cap popping in silence. It was the sound of his disappointment, locked in his heart. He realized that without true connection with those around him, without authenticity and openness, joy became just a game of shadows. Every laugh reverberated into emptiness, and he once again found himself alone, surrounded only by the echo of his thoughts. Mark lowered the photograph as if it was burning his hands. He wondered how it was possible to collect memories and then realize they never existed. Where is the real connection? Where is the moment when I felt love and not just its imitation? The whispering thoughts ignited a fire within him, and he understood. It was time to face the truth. It was painful, but it was necessary. Not just tears. These were tears of liberation. He was ready to rid himself of illusions. He began to gasp again and wanted to scream to pull himself out of the prison of falsehood. He sought true feelings to learn how to be again. What if your life is just an illusion in which you have spent too much time? Mark looks in the mirror, and the reflection before him is not himself, but a character of his virtual self. Sarah's words about the ban on technology echo in his head like a bell calling for change. He feels the weight of the neural interface on his skull like chains that have shackled his soul. How many minutes has he spent in this artificial world? How many genuine moments has he missed? Soon he must make a choice. Like a scene from an old movie, seconds stretch as he slowly reaches for the switch. He can hardly believe he can do this. Finally, his fingers touch the button. The detachment from the familiar feels torturous. A bright flash and the virtual world disappears, leaving only emptiness. He feels his soul breaking free. The air changes, it fills his lungs with freshness. Mark realizes he loves life again. He is here, among real people, among real emotions. Sarah is somewhere nearby, giving him a chance for a new, sincere start. He feels her warmth, her support, and decides technology will no longer define his existence. Courage fills him. This decision is like a step into the unknown, but he is ready. ready to rediscover every emotion, every moment, ready to overcome artificial barriers and return to the truth. Mark turns and walks towards Sarah. His heart beats faster, as if for the first time. "We will start all over," he says, and at that moment he feels that life is just beginning. Are you ready to find out what happens when the noise of technology disappears? Mark looks into Sarah's eyes, his voice trembling. Thoughts of lost moments and wrong words wash over him. "I feel like I've lost connection with you. Every time we turn to the screen, I lose another piece of us. Does that satisfy you?" Sarah leans closer, her voice soft yet confident. "I feel that way too. We're always close, but for some reason it feels like we're distant from each other. It's so easy to hide behind written words, but when it comes to real conversation..." Mark sighs deeply, clenching his hands. "I'm afraid I won't be able to hear you. What if your feelings don't match mine? What if I disappoint you?" Sarah smiles, though uncertainty flickers in her eyes. "But maybe that's the whole point. We can be vulnerable with each other. If we speak openly, we can understand each other better, and that will bring us closer." A pause. They both think about how hard it is to open up. "You know, sometimes I feel like we can sense each other better than with words," he says. "Maybe we've just forgotten how to do it," she replies, her voice sounding like a spark of hope. "How do we learn to feel real emotions when there are so many distractions around us? We could start by simply being here and now." "You're right. I'm ready to try." The candlelight softly reflects on their faces, creating an atmosphere of closeness. They understand that sincerity and openness are the keys to reclaiming what they have begun to lose. What if I tell you that openness can save your relationship? Walking through the bustling streets where life outside bursts with energy, the heroes feel the spring breeze gently caressing their skin. The walls of ancient houses covered in greenery seem to listen to their conversations, and every sound becomes part of their new reality. "You know, I used to think everything had to be perfect," one of them says, looking into the distance with a sad smile. "But the more I tried to meet those expectations, the further I drifted away from myself." The other stops, slightly surprised. "Yes, I've noticed you've become less authentic. I often hid my feelings too." At that moment, they realize that their vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength. "You know, when I was little, I always feared that no one would accept me with my flaws. I dreamed of being someone else." He laughs, but sincerity reflects in his eyes. "Now I understand that my flaws are what make me unique." Passers-by smile at them, and somewhere in the distance the laughter of children can be heard. "I feel that if we are open with each other, we can remember why we became friends in the first place." Hope resonates in his voice. "I want to share my experiences, even if they aren't perfect. It's important." The other nods, and a sparkle appears in his eyes. They continue walking, and each step brings a sense of liberation. "Maybe now is the time to talk about what worries us, right?" "Exactly. No more hiding." "Yes, it's scary, but this is where real life begins." Their conversations become increasingly genuine, and around them it feels as if the sun shines brighter. You can sense the street responding, whispering, "Let's be real." Ultimately, they come to understand that the truth is not frightening, and beloved truth only unites. It's a small awakening to the real, as they are ready to accept each other with imperfections and weaknesses. Consider for a moment. What if everything we think about love and relationships does not stand the test of time? In a world where technology entraps us in the comfort of convenience, how does this affect our ability to truly love? We witness daily how the world around us is changing. We exchange hundreds of messages, yet we can be physically thousands of kilometers apart. Like cells in a virtual reality, we build our global relationships forgetting authenticity. Logins and passwords replace sincere conversations while stickers replace real emotions. How often have you felt that something is missing in your online communication? Imagine sitting in a cafe with an interesting person. Laughter, eyes shining with understanding, but as soon as you get distracted by the screen, the moment disappears. How many such moments do we miss being prisoners of technology? Every click is a chance slipping into infinity. What will happen to our love when virtual hugs become more familiar than real ones? Will genuine relationships fade away, giving way to convenient but superficial connections? It is essential to remember that authenticity and a sense of self-sufficiency, both in practice and in relationships, are the foundation on which true connection is built. We must ask ourselves, are we capable of remaining true in this vague and isolated world? How does technology shape not only our communication but also our feelings? This is not just a reflection. It is a question that concerns each of us. How do we find a balance between the virtual and the real, between expectations and reality? Is love in the age of technology the eternal light we strive for, or merely a bright mirage on the horizon that dares to vanish at the first breath of change? Are you ready for a new beginning? Imagine that every previous mistake is just a step towards something greater. Here they stand, together, in this moment filled with warmth and hope. Their eyes met, and in that glance was all the truth. Sincerity, betrayed by the cares of everyday life and the artificial lights of screens. Now all those traps are left behind. Mark gently embraces Sarah, and they smile as if all worries have stepped aside. This moment is sacred. Like all the hardships they faced have simply dissolved into the air. How many doubts, broken dreams, and unspoken words there were. But today they are here, together, proudly looking into each other's eyes, realizing what true connection is. It is more than just emotions. It is a purpose, a new guidance for each of them, unburdened by fear or slowing circumstances. They have created their own world where every glance, every touch says, "I am here and this matters." A place where there is no longer a need to hide behind masks and illusions. In this very moment they understand. True intimacy begins with the courage to be vulnerable. What will happen next? What wonders will they create together in their new reality? This story is just beginning, and perhaps your own search for closeness and sincerity is beside you. Are you ready to open the door to the new,